Hey, good morning or good afternoon to you, depending on where you are. I'm in Texas. Mark Suttle with HurricaneTrack.com here with your hurricane outlook and discussion. It is now Wednesday, May 27th, 2020, and this will be fairly short because I got to get out of here. I'm at the hotel here in Waco, Texas, and I know you're like, why are you in Waco when we had a tropical storm that developed overnight? Boy, that certainly escalated quickly. It went from 30% chance of development when I went to bed last night at around 3 a.m. to tropical storm Bertha making landfall as a 45-knot storm just north of the Charleston, South Carolina area. And wow, and it looked pretty good on radar, pretty healthy, and just goes to show you. And you know, we talked about it yesterday. I told you don't be surprised if that happens, and that it really wouldn't be a big impact event, and it's not. The rainfall is the biggest issue now. Heavy surf, rip currents, that kind of thing was the impact earlier, some gusty winds, but it's not completely surprising, yet here we are taken by surprise a little bit. This is the 11 o'clock information, life-threatening, if I can talk, got a lot on my mind, life-threatening flash flooding, eastern central South Carolina into west central to far southeast North Carolina, southwest Virginia overall. River flooding, which we've had a lot of rain across this area lately, that's going to be exacerbated by this system coming in. So this is the issue going forward, folks. Heavy rainfall, a couple more inches added to these soggy soils throughout this region of the Carolinas. So just be mindful of that, especially if you are traveling through the area. This will go on and move into the Carolinas. The depression, the leftover remnant moisture, whatever you want to call it, will split the states here. And again, this part of the Appalachians could get soaked pretty good. So just be mindful of that. Okay, these are impacts. Heavy rain can cause flooding. Flooding can wash your car away, create hydroplaning on the interstates. You got 40 that goes through here, I-85 corridor, I-77, and more. So just be aware of it. This is what it looked like satellite view-wise going back the last few hours just before sunrise and into the morning hours now. There's Bertha right there again. It was sitting over Florida, not far from Cape Canaveral yesterday, moved off and rapidly organized, making landfall. Now it's moving northward, and again, it's going to go up into portions of the Carolinas and into southwest Virginia. Moisture with it, we've already talked about that. I mean, there you go. What can I say? These things happen. Next area we will be watching closely is this in the southeastern Pacific that should go on to develop and impact eventually Central America over here in the coming days in this vicinity. And then, why am I in Texas? Well, first, check it out. Big upper level low spinning over the region in the lower plains. I am in Texas to test equipment. That's why we came out here. One of our crowdfunding partners, Brent Lynn from the Virgin Islands, he's one of our Patreon supporters, and he helps to fund and also help with actual hands-on to test. And in the field, he helped in Florence and Michael last year during Dorian. We tested the weather balloon with Brent last year as well. And so we're testing, and we're trying to do it before hurricane season, but frickin' Bertha kind of screwing that up a little bit. Luckily, it was not a high-impact event, and had it been a hurricane, we probably would have seen it coming, and I would have stayed home, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, we're in Texas. The main goal is to test the weather balloon, the Hurricane Research Balloon, or Herbie. That's the main goal. We're going to do that tomorrow and Friday, but while we were out here, we also brought several camera systems to be ready in case there was severe weather to give you coverage of that, social media, etc., for our patrons, to give them live access to the streams, but also to test those cameras. You know, do it in a real-world environment, set them up over a long area, like a fence. That's what I think of it like, putting up a fence, and you catch something along that fence, or a net, if you will. And so that's why we're here. I'll get into that in more detail in just a moment. But this is the area that we're interested in, this impulse coming down through here. It's going to eventually make its way towards Waco, and that area down I-35 between Waco and Austin. And we'll talk about that more in a moment. So there's the Vort signature of Bertha. Let's zoom in on this, shall we? There we go. Vorticity signature of Bertha right here. And it was definitely solid tropical storm, no doubt about it. Not one of those, well, why did they name that? You know, this was right in the wheelhouse. Well organized, convective pattern, the banding, the whole bit. And just kind of happened quickly. That's pretty much the bottom line. In the southeastern Pacific, there's the energy starting to get together for our first named storm, which will be Amanda in the southeast Pacific. Real quick look at the models here. This is what it looked like last night. I want to show you this at the initial time at the 0Z run right there. There was the impulse that became Bertha this morning. If we move this out into time, you see what happened. Just a small system there, right there. Tiny, tiny little vortmax that closed off into a well-defined low-pressure area. Hard for the models to resolve that. The high-resolution models hint at it from time to time, but you never know, like the 3-kilometer NAM or the HRRRRRRRR model. Just kidding, it's HRRR. Those high-res models generally do a good job with, land features, not so much tropical cyclones, but sometimes they give you hints that something may develop. They overdo it. The 3-kilometer NAM last year made Barry like a big-time hurricane, as an example. They kind of go nuts on the convection and feeding back on that heat in the model parameterization and so forth. It's all interesting math and physics, but nevertheless they give you clues, and sometimes they are right. And in this case, they were apparently right as it dealt with Bertha. Bertha went on, as you see there, made landfall. This was this morning. And now, as we look at the 12Z, that's what this is. This is the 12Z run. It's coming out like right now. There's the vorticity signature of Bertha, after landfall there, moving in, as I talked about, into parts of the west central North Carolina and eventually on up into West Virginia. Now, next area to watch, right down in here. As we go forward into time, this is valid tomorrow morning, so Thursday morning, and then we go out to Friday morning, and then Saturday morning, and look what's happening. Energy starting to coalesce right there, and that's going to come together and eventually make landfall as a tropical cyclone, more than likely, along Central America, Guatemala, El Salvador, somewhere near there. And then that moisture and the overall energy packet, all of this energy down here, this cyclonic turning, Central American gyre, just the overall seedling, and that's a big pocket of energy, is going to try to get off Central America, moving its way into maybe the Gulf of Mexico. Now we're out at day 6, and that's as far as the GFS goes for now, which is fine. This is good for now. 6 days out plus is just like, okay, whatever. But there's a big old area of high pressure. Here's some clues that we can look at. This is a big area of blocking, if you will, that this isn't just going to come up into that. So it's going to kind of get squashed down here as long as we see ridging over the southeast like that. Going to be nice and hot. Underneath that, I'll draw an H in there for high. This is your low pressure area south of it. Trapped down there, festering, raining, and nasty, humid, hot weather, whatever, over Central America. Whether or not this comes in and eventually develops maybe up into the Gulf, maybe up this way, I don't know. But it's down there, this energy source, and it's a big one. This represents a very large source of energy that has to try to bundle into a smaller source of energy that we call a tropical cyclone. Can it do that? I don't know. If I knew, I'd tell you. Trust me, you'd be the first to know. So you're going to see little pieces of energy go around that larger gyre, and we just have to wait and see, does one of those take over? Nate did it. Michael did it in 17 and 18, and others have done it in the past. Alberto in 2018, early in that season, piece of energy comes around, closes off, and it takes over. The question is, does it take over and become potent, or is it more widely spread out and the energy spread out over a larger area and it's not able to focus and bundle very much? So, hey, you see that as the GFS continues to render, It tries to develop a piece of energy there coming off South America. This is far out into time, getting towards 9 days, but this will be the area to watch. Storm Prediction Center, again, why I'm in Texas? Well, we were here for testing, but as it turns out, enhanced risk. Big hail producers today, not much in the way of tornado threat. If we look at the categorical, then the tornado 5%, so that's not nothing. Wind is getting on up there at 30%, and hail also 30%. Pretty high. Big time hail possible, especially for areas like Austin, Waco, Killeen, Round Rock, Temple. And yes, that is where we've set up our cameras. Yeah, so we came out here, vehicle cam not active yet. When I'm done with this video, I'll go out and get it active. Then we have our live cam here in Hillsboro, Texas, and I can show you this full screen. So that's the live shot. This is why I wanted to do this. This is gorgeous to be able to look out in such a wide area. This is mounted up on an overpass, out of the way of traffic, very easy, very safe to do. This isn't storm chasing. This is a different way to do this. This is being in 5 places at once, plus our vehicle cam. And you know, we do this with the hurricanes and tropical storms. This is no surprise, but this is what we can do with it. Just as an example, this is Austin. All right, this is looking north, and then we have another camera here. I'm sorry, that was Georgetown. This is Austin. This one's looking north. The other one, Georgetown, was looking. I think that was looking north as well. No, it says south. Sorry. It's been a long day. Here's Salado or Salado. It's probably Salado. Oh, look at the convection. You can already see it right there. There it is, starting to bubble up. So I better hurry up and wrap things up. And then here is finally Waco, where I am, and this is facing due west. What we expect is to see some hail and big-time lightning, maybe some hurricane-force winds with some of these systems. These cold pools develop in these thunderstorms that hits the surface, spreads out in straight-line winds. These ones that say not active. Yeah, we might activate a 6th camera. By the way, this comes off of our HurricaneTrack Insider site, tied into our Patreon. We have our chat here, and you can join up. You get access to this at the $10 level and up. Just so you know, this is what we provide in return for people that help us with our crowdfunding. So that's a look at that. Get me back on so that I can say goodbye. So that's why we're in Texas, testing things. This will be very useful in hurricane season. Everything's running great now. We want to make sure it runs during hurricanes, right? And in the process, we can show you some severe weather content. Interesting stuff. And then tomorrow we launch the weather balloon, which is a whole other thing. And that's the main reason why we are here. So a big shout out to our patrons, our crowdfunding partners. Lots of you, almost 300 total. We appreciate it very much. One of them's with us, Brent. And there are others that help us out in the field as well. The amazing power of crowdfunding. So thank you all very much. All right, I'm going to wrap things up here and get out in the field, all right? I am Mark South, HurricaneTrack.com. As always, thank you for watching. I'll be back with more for you, certainly tomorrow.